Hello dear learners, welcome to SWAM and PDL course on Methodology of Educational Research. I am Dr. Sarita Anand from Department of Education, Vinay Bhavan, Vishwabharati, Santiniketan, West Bengal, India. Today we will talk about the meaning and purpose of educational research. So, let us start with the today's topic. And before going to that, we will talk about the concepts covered. In earlier lecture, we have covered the introduction to research in education, concept of educational research, nature of educational research, objectives of applied research in education, research as a search of knowledge, characteristics and different scope of educational research. Now, we will go with the meaning of educational research. So, when we are talking about the educational research, it is systematic and scientific study which we have already discussed in first lecture, and the study of educational problems to improve teaching and learning. It is a systematic, objective and scientific process of investigating the educational phenomena. To develop knowledge, improve practice and guide decision making, this is the educational research. So, it is a disciplined inquiry and how individuals learn, how teachers teach and how educational system operate or work within diverse social, cultural and technological context. This is all about the educational research. It involves applying the scientific method to collect and analyze data about students, teachers, curriculum and institutions to generate knowledge that can enhance educational practices and outcome. According to Best, Kahan and Jha in 2023, research is the systematic and objective analysis. Objective analysis means unbiased analysis and recording of controlled observations that may lead to the development of generalizations, principles or theories resulting in prediction and possibly control of events. So, the definition emphasizes the scientific character of the research rooted in observation. Whatever our observation or collected data is saying, that is the truth, not our own bias. So, verification and the theory building is the main process where we should follow the educational research. In education, this translates to exploring teaching learning processes, assessing institutional methods or instructional methods or evaluating educational programs. So, the John W. Best in 1977 in his earlier book, he observed that educational research is more formal, systematic and intensive process of carrying on the scientific method of analysis. This means that the research in education extends beyond mere reflection or opinion. If it is guided by the methodological rigor and evidence based reasoning, then this is the proper educational research. So, similarly, Creswell in 2018 defined the educational research as a systematic process of collecting and analyzing the information or the data to increase our understanding of educational phenomena. So, we can take the example, when a teacher investigates whether project based learning enhances critical thinking among the secondary students, he or she is engaging in educational research. He or she identifies a problem, gathers data systematically, analyzes result and draws the conclusion, all within the framework of scientific and inquiry, and that can be called as educational research. So, the purpose of educational research, I have tried out to pinpoint the purpose of research. Again, this is made with the help of Napkin AI. It is providing a very good visuals to teach in our classes and becoming the friend of teachers who are interested to teach in some kind of interactive way. So, the purposes of educational researches can be discover the new knowledge, improve educational practices, aid in educational planning, predicting the control outcomes, solve emerging problems, promote innovative and innovation and changes. So, in more than this listing can be the purpose of educational research, and that can be carried out in the educational scenario. So, the purposes of educational research are multifold, ranging from knowledge generation to problem solving and policy formation. The aim of research in education is to discover principles that have universal application and to improve educational practice. So, let us discuss the major purposes in greater detail. So, we will go one by one to discover. First one is discover new knowledge and validate existing knowledge. This should be the actually trained for the educational researches to seek to expand the boundaries what is known, and it tests theories of learning, cognition and motivation and pedagogy, contributing to the growth of educational sciences. Then the Kerlinger in 1973 notes that the scientific research in a systematic, controlled, empirical and critical investigation of hypothetical proposition about the presumed relation among the natural phenomena. It means whatever is going on, we can conduct the study on that phenomena also. So, this means the research in education tests and validates the theories, behaviorism, constructivism by applying them to classroom realities and observing outcomes. For example, a researcher validating Vygotsky's theory of the zone of proximal development through peer learning interventions in primary classroom contributes both theory and practice. So, this kind of studies can be conducted. Then to improve the educational practice, educational research in inherently practical, it aims to improve teaching learning processes. According to BEST, teachers and other educational professionals continually need to examine what they are doing to determine if procedure is working or whether they need to try something new with a given student or the class. This purpose aligns with the concept of action research, where educators systematically study their own practice to improve their teaching learning process. If they are facing any problem in the classroom, then they can go for the action research. Also, not only solving the problem, but the improvement in teaching learning environment is also the goal of this kind of action research. For example, suppose a school implements an action research project to test new formative assessment strategies. Findings help teachers to adjust the instruction whatever they are teaching in the class, thereby improving student learning outcomes in the respective classes. Then the third one is to aid in educational planning and policy formation. Educational administrators and policy makers rely on the research evidence to make the informed decision whatever they are going to take in their respective institutions. So, Isaac and Michael in 1997 emphasized that research provides the foundation for nearly all government policies in education, for administrative decisions and for professional practices. Without evidence, we cannot go for any kind of decision making in any administrative institution. For example, large scale studies such as annual status of educational report, ASER reports in India or PISA assessments worldwide inform governments about the learning level and guide curriculum reform. Similarly, universities are having their annual report, and these annual reports are also reflecting what our teacher or our institution is going, what they are doing. So, that can be also make as a help for the decision making. Then the fourth one is to predict and control educational outcome. As in the physical sciences, educational research seeks to establish cause and effect relationships to predict outcomes and guide interventions. For instance, We can take the example that research might explore whether teacher feedback predicts student motivation or whether digital learning environments influence retention rate. If we go by the John W. Best, it reminds us that the real purpose of scientific method is to prediction the discovery of certain theories and generalization that anticipates the future occurrences with maximum probability. Such predictive understanding allows educators to design better systems and strategies for learning improvement, and we can go and take the help of the researches for that prediction. And the fifth one is to understand and solve emerging educational problems. Every day there are some new problems are coming in education, and being a dynamic social system constantly faces new challenges, technological shifts, inclusion, digital pedagogy, emotional well-being, sustainability, and many more problems are there. Research helps identify these problems early and purpose very viable solution. They can help to find out the solution to solve these problems. John Dewey 1938 viewed search as or research as a process of reflective thinking that converts mere experiences into the knowledge. Hence, research transforms complex classroom experiences into actionable insights. Remember, actionable insight, it means it is also helping to solve the problem. We can take the action to solve the problem. For example, during COVID-19 pandemic, numerous studies investigated the effectiveness of online learning, e-learning, hybrid learning, then flipped classes, and all many concepts are there, that these platforms helping institutions designing the hybrid learning models that continue today. And when we are talking here in this SWAYAM class, you can see this is also the example of that emerging educational problems where we are following the massive open online course here on the SWAYAM NPTEL platform. So, the sixth one is to promote innovation and change. Educational research serves as the engine of innovation. It helps educators adopt and adapt themselves in a new technologies, pedagogies, and assessment tools. Brogg in 1981 emphasized research in education is not merely to understand the existing information or knowledge, but to create the possible. So, when we are talking about the educational research, promote innovation and change is required. For example, research on gamified learning has inspired new form of digital pedagogy that make education interactive, personalized and inclusive. If I will say that let us go for the poll and let us go for the playway method of assessment, then you will feel happy because that is more interactive when we are using the Kahoot or Quizzes like platform for the assessment. Then the need for educational research. What is the need for doing the educational research? This is the question, and for that I have tried to go by the some interactive visual or the image, and this is also again created with the help of Napkin AI. So, the need of educational research is to give the dynamic educational environment to the learners, professional development of the teachers, policy formation and evaluation, social relevance and equity, and accountability and quality assurance in the field of education. So, the need of educational research arises from the evolving nature of education. In every decade, even in 5 years, the education system changes, and the education is not static. It reflects social, economic and technological transformation. Developments and systematic inquiry ensures that educational theory and practice evolve together and provide some new information, new outcome for the next generation. So, the need of educational research will go one by one. With the first one, dynamic educational environment, new challenges such as artificial intelligence in classroom, its use in classroom, like I have mentioned that I am using, but for the not the for copy pasting or cheating, we should use the AI with some kind of requirement, like we can ideate with the help of AI, but not using for the cheating. So, sustainability education and the global competence requires evidence based responses. Research provides the framework for innovation and adaptation. This is mentioned by the BEST and stressed that educational professionals continually need to examine what they are doing. Without research, educational practices risk becoming outdated and ineffective. Suppose when we are teaching and continuously speaking, not explaining anything, not showing some examples or visuals, then this class will be static. So, we have to go by the with the time. The second one is professional development of teachers. Definitely this is very important aspect and need of the educational research. Teachers who engage in research become reflective practitioners, and I take myself as a reflective practitioner. And according to Stenhouse in 1975, he mentioned that it is not enough that teachers' work should be studied. They need to study it themselves. Research thus empowers teachers to question, analyze and transform their own practice, strengthening the professionalism of teaching. So, a good teacher go for the professional development time to time, and the researches are required for that. The policy formation and evaluation. In modern educational governance, policy decisions must be grounded in data rather than ideology. BEST and Kahan again they explain that all professional workers, including educators, should be familiar with the methods of research and the analysis of data to interpret and critically analyze research project. Suppose if I am not aware how to analyze, how to conduct the research, then how I can analyze. So, that is why this is important to the educators should know the process. Then the social relevance and equity. Here in educational researches, it identifies inequalities and provides solution for inclusion and justice. Freire in 1970 described education as a mean for liberation, asserting that true education is praxis, reflection and action upon the world in order to transform it. So, research therefore is essential for addressing marginalization, gender bias, digital divides and other type of disparities in the society. So, social relevance and equity is needed the educational researches. The fifth one is accountability and quality assurance. Definitely in the era of global rankings and accreditation, we are running behind the NIRF ranking, NAAC accreditation. Institution must demonstrate quality through measurable outcomes. I am saying that I am teaching well, that is not enough. I have to perform, I have to show that yes, I am teaching well, institution is doing well. So, educational research provides the tools to monitor the progress, evaluate programs and ensure accountability to learner and the society. So, the next topic is epistemological and ontological basis for research in education. Whenever we are talking about the research need, types and all, then definitely we should go for the basis, and these two terms epistemological and ontological basis for research in education is must to read. So, here in this visual, this is also generated with the help of napkin, and here you can see on the base there is ontological assumption, that means belief about the nature of reality, whatever exists in the reality. Then in the second step, epistemological assumptions, where belief about the knowledge is acquired, how knowledge is acquired by the teachers, by the learners, by the administrators or any other researchers, and Then on the fourth level, the research methods, the systematic approaches of data collection, analysis, these are coming in the research method. And on the top, that is educational research, whatever we are talking about, inquiry into the educational phenomena. It means if we are going to conduct the educational research, we need to think about, have the acquaintance of the ontological assumptions and epistemological assumptions, and for that we will go forward, like educational research in all social and human sciences rest upon these philosophical assumptions about what reality is, ontology, how we can know it, epistemology, and both the terms are important for educational researches. These assumptions shape every step of the research process, how problems are identified, how data are gathered, how findings are interpreted, and how truth is defined. Understanding these philosophical underpinnings helps researchers choose coherent methodologies and interpret educational phenomena with the intellectual clarity. So, let us go by this visual, and I hope this is very easy to help to understand the epistemology, the nature of knowledge in educational research. This visual is also created with the help of napkin, and here this epistemology is showing positivism, interpretivism, critical theory and pragmatism. So, we will go one by one with this epistemology, which concerns the nature and scope of knowledge, that is how we come to know what we know. It asks what counts a valid knowledge, how can we justify that we claim to know, that yes, I know something. In education, epistemology shapes how teachers, researchers and the learners understand the truth and evidence. So, there are several measures to know the epistemological positions influence the educational research. So, one by one we can try to understand that what is the term or terminology in the epistemology. There is positivism. It holds the knowledge is derived from observable facts and empirical evidence. If there is no evidence, no observational fact, we cannot see the reality, then that is not positivism. It assumes that through careful measurement and logical reasoning, researchers can uncover universal laws governing educational phenomena, and this is said by Best. For example, testing the impact of a new teaching method using standardized tests, controlling variables and applying statistical analysis to determine the cause and effect relationships. So, we can take the help of methodological implication for this positivism, like quantitative, experimental and correlational research designs are there for the positivism. Then interpretivism, interpretation, from there this term is coming, interpretivism, and this is epistemology assumes that knowledge emerges from understanding individuals' meanings and experiences, and the educational phenomena are studied through the interpretation rather than the measurement. For example, a phenomenology study exploring how students experience anxiety during exam relies on the interviews and observations to construct shared meanings. So, methodological implications for the this is aspect, qualitative research methods such as ethnography, case studies and interviews can be conducted. Then the critical theory, the critical epistemology emphasizes knowledge as a means of emancipation. It views education as embedded in a system of power, inequality and ideology. Researcher seeks to uncover, challenge these structures to promote justice and equity. For example, critical study on gender bias in textbooks or caste representation in Indian classroom seeks not only to describe, but to transform the social condition and environment. The methodological implication like participatory action research can be conducted, discourse analysis and feminist inquiry can be conducted. Then pragmatism. Pragmatism bridges the gap between the positivism and interpretivism, and it holds the truth is what works in practice and that knowledge should be judged by its usefulness in solving real problem. This is said by the D.V. 1938. And for example, in classroom based action research, a teacher might combine test scores, quantitative and the reflections to improve the pedagogy, that is qualitative aspects. And the methodological implication, mixed method research where both quantitative and qualitative data are used to inform the educational practices in pragmatism. Then comes the ontology. Ontology means the nature of educational reality, and this visual I thought this is the justifiable visual for the learners, and this is also prepared with the help of Napkin AI because I am using the pro version, that is why this is not showing the watermarking or the hallmark, otherwise it can show in the free version. So, here there are three aspects: objectivism, constructivism and the critical realism. And we will go with the ontology, which is concerned with the nature of being or the reality. It is focusing on the reality of the knowledge. It asks what exists, what is the nature of what we seek to know. In education, ontology deals with what constitutes educational reality, whether teaching, learning, motivation or intelligence are being objective phenomena existing independently of the observer or the social constructs created through interaction and meaning making. So, in this ontology we can go with the John W. Best and the Kahan and Jha. They implicitly work from a realist ontology, assuming that educational phenomena like achievement, intelligence or the behavior patterns of the learners are the real and measurable. We can go for the measuring these kind of variables. Then we will go ontology one by one, like objectivism or realism. This view assumes that the reality exists independently or human perception. Educational phenomena such as learning outcomes, intelligence, behavior exist as observable facts. For example, in a quantitative study, a researcher might measure effect of an institutional method on students' test scores, assuming that learning gain existing as a objective measurable outcome. So, when we are talking about the objectivism, immediately comes the constructivism or relativism, where it argues that reality is socially constructed through human interaction, language and the interpretations. There is no single educational reality. Instead, there are multiple context dependent realities experienced by the teachers and learners. For example, a qualitative study exploring teachers' experiences of inclusive education assumes that inclusion is not a fixed reality, but a lived experiences varying across the context and environment of the teachers and the learners. So, next one is the critical realism. This contemporary position bridges the gap between the objectivism and constructivism. It acknowledges that a real world exists, but can only be understood through human interpretations filtered by social, cultural and ideological context mentioned by Bhaskar in 1975. For example, in educational policy research, a critical realist might study how curriculum reform, a real phenomena, curriculum is a real phenomena, is experienced differently depending on teachers' belief, school culture and socio-economic context. So, when they are going to study, then definitely they will follow the critical realism. In short, ontology in education determines whether we study learning as a measurable outcome, a lived experience or a socially mediated process. This ontological orientation influences the choice between the quantitative, qualitative and mixed method of research being conducted in educational researches. So, we will try to find out the relationship between ontology and epistemology. Here again I have tried to show you the easy way of this relationship with the help of Napkin AI. It means that Napkin is helping me a lot to show my thinking, my ideas in the screen. So, here you can see the epistemology is connected with the related with the ontology on the philosophical understanding. It means it is integrated with the perspective of reality and both are related with each other. So, ontology and epistemology are deeply interconnected. One's view of what exists shape one's belief about how it can be known. In short, epistemological and ontological coherence ensures that research, design, data collection and interpretations are philosophically consistent. Without such alignment and combination or connection, findings may lack credibility or theoretical depth. So, the conclusion, now we can go for the conclusion after so much discussion, that educational research is the essence of pedagogical progress and institutional effectiveness. It transforms the classroom into a site of inquiry, the teacher into a reflective practitioner and education itself into a science of human growth. So, we can say that the ultimate purpose of educational research is to discover general principles and develop theory that can guide and improve the educational practices. So, epistemology and ontology is helping to do that educational practices. It provides the philosophical compass that guide every educational researcher. It is giving the direction to us as a researcher. While ontology defines the nature of educational world, epistemology defines how can know the make sense of it. So, how we can go for the proper research. Together they shape whether we see education as a set of measurable outcomes, a lived human experience or a field for social transformation. The strongest educational research acknowledges this complexity, integrating scientific precision with interpretive depth and ethical sensitivity. Then we will go for the conclusion, last line, that if we want to go for the educational researches, a need for the educational research is both intellectual and moral. It ensures that education remains responsive, equitable and visionary in rapidly changing world. Now, the references, I have mentioned here few references for you all, starting with the best. I think this is the reference book for my whole course, and different other researchers are there. You can go through the link also for the further readings, and if you have any problem, you can go for the discussion also. Thank you. Keep learning.